General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is in a serious trouble with the law here. I want us to look into this. Could this be another smear campaign to delegitimize his revelations that he has done on July 6, 2025? Or is this a legitimate story? Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look closely into the evidence that was provided by Sergeant Mlotshwa at the ad hoc parliamentary committee, and then also again on the same ad hoc parliamentary committee, the evidence that was provided by Matlala, because Matlala's evidence corroborates the evidence of Sergeant Mlotshwa.
Point 8. Lieutenant Colonel Nhlanhla then entered the kitchen accompanied by the Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. I was told by the Provincial Commissioner to undress till I was naked. I was instructed to squat before my co-accused private part and ask me to tell who the person that entered the room was by Lieutenant Colonel Govenda. In this instruction, I was instructed by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi to squat in front of the accused number one's private part. And then
had General Mkhwanazi also left KwaDukuza police station at the same time as you and the private security company, or how did he come into the picture?
I don't know, because we were blindfolded with plastic, so we found him there.
Oh, you found him at the farm?
Yes, we found him at the farm.
You may continue.
And then 13.10, I told Mr. Nangi that this was Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, who is the Provincial Commissioner of KZN, and he was once the acting National Commissioner. 13.11, during the torture, the Provincial Commissioner was present and participated in the torture. He went as far as telling me that I should have rather committed suicide than coming to KZN. I was also subjected to having a plastic bag filled with water placed over my head and suffocated till I almost pass out. Then the police officer will release the bag and allow me to breathe. The Provincial Commissioner asked about my legal representative was and which union I belong. I replied that I was a member of SAP, and he remarked that he will make sure they never represent me. Once again, Mr. Jacob Desai of Extreme Defense was present at the location during the entire period. The Provincial Commissioner was present and there for approximately 30 minutes while we were being tortured. The relentless torture continued hours after he left. A section 205 of the cell phone of General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, Jacob Desai, Colonel Dina Kavenda, Captain Azile Enoch, Warrant Dion, and Constable Singh will provide the proximity of the farm, the area, and show the phones present together in the same area at the same time.
So those were the events of what happened at that farm.
Yes.
What then happened to you after? Were you transported back to the police station? Were you with Mr. Nangi and Mr. Brights? What happened to the other two?
It was only me and Mr. Nangi in the farm. And then we were transported at midnight. I think we arrived at Stenga around 2 in the morning.
You testified earlier that Mr. Nangi was detained at Westville Prison.
Yes.
So on that evening, he was then booked at KwaDukuza.
We were remanded to KwaDukuza up until the 11th on our next court appearance, where we asked our legal representative to make an application that we should be detained at Westville Prison because of the torture the assault, and so that we can also be able to access medical treatment, because there at KwaDukuza, they were denying us after every assault.
Okay, in the next paragraph, you mentioned that you had already been in custody for 10 days at the time. Had you appeared for bail,
No, we didn't.
for a bail application?
No, we didn't, because when the matter was withdrawn on the 22 of January, we were supposed to make the formal bail application.
Yes, but you were detained at the end of November. And the question is, had you appeared for bail? Because,
We've appeared, but they were postponing it.
so how many times did you appear for bail,
It's-
for bail application?
I think 5 before
times.
they withdraw.
And
it.
what were the reasons each time that when you appear, why were you not released?
The community will march outside, will beat our legal representative, so the matter couldn't proceed. And then on the 17th of December, they left Mr. Nangi at prison, even though we tell them that, hey, we are short of one person who is at G7, I was at G6. They say, hey, no, let's go. And when we get into the court, they inform the magistrate that they couldn't locate the other accused in prison. So they were doing it deliberately just to delay us in applying for the bail.
Okay. So at the next paragraph, as a police officer who is a sergeant yourself, had you not reached out perhaps to some of your colleagues because of the circumstances that you found yourself in? What steps did you take to try and get assistance in these circumstances?
I've opened cases. We've opened case at in Joburg. Let me just get the case number here.
Okay, I'll go back a little bit so that we can understand how did I get to end up meeting Mr. Mkhwanazi. When I was with Mr. Kele, and then because he kept on asking me for money, and then I told him that, listen, SAPS is not paying me in time, and then also I don't even get enough purchase orders, so I'm not making a lot of money, though the contract is there, but I'm not making that money that you guys assume that I'm making. And then I told him that the person who's in charge of this contract, I think I'll say the custodian of this contract, is Lieutenant General Nhlanhla. And then he said, yes, I know about your problem, but I think the best person that you need to talk to is General Mkhwanazi, because he's more closer than General Nhlanhla than I am. So that's when then he arranged that meeting. So when I met with General Mkhwanazi, he said to me, yes, I hear about your problem that you're having, so that that they don't give you guys enough work. They just send work in brief, send perhaps so that they don't breach their contract. But actually, if it was according to them, they wouldn't send any purchase orders at all. They just send small purchase orders so that they can just keep you entertained. So, but they're saying actually what they want to do is cancel this contract. So, and he said to me, they actually met. He said there was a police summit in somewhere in Emperor's Palace, and he's saying during that summit, after the summit, I think he said to me, General Nhlanhla asked National Commissioner Fani Masemola that when are they actually cancelling my contract? And Fani Masemola said that this is what I heard from General Mkhwanazi. Fani Masemola said that, listen, I spoke with the minister. Remember last year, December, he gave a directive that we must cancel this contract. But now I asked him that can I continue? And then it looks like he is breaking down now. So National Commissioner Masemola, according to Mkhwanazi, he said, I suspect that this Mkhunu is working with Sibia now. And then he no longer want to cancel the contract because I suspect that they will send this guy, meaning me, to come and kill me. And then they must put General Sibia as the National Commissioner. And Mkhwanazi said to me that, I said to National Commissioner that, Commissioner, if you think that your life is in danger, just say the word. I will take care of this cat. Then I asked him, what did you mean when you say that he must just say a word and then you will take care of me? And he told me that there is only one way that I can take care of you permanently. But he didn't say it in like kill you, but he just said to me that there is only one way that I can take care of you permanently. And I said, but what was the reason for that? Because he's told me that they suspect that why will suddenly the minister decide not to cancel the contract anymore? But before that, he was the one actually who said we must cancel this contract. So he said to me, he told Fadima Samola that he will call the commander of special force and then they must give him a armored car from now on, so, because his life is in danger. And he was saying all these things to show me that General Nkwa was pushing for this contract to be cancelled. And then he said to me further that she's doing this because she was working with the previous service provider. And then they were giving her a lot of money. That's why she could afford to buy properties and convert them into B&Bs. And he even gave me one address of her properties, which I wrote it down later. And then when I came back to Pretoria, I went there actually to check the property, and then I even took a street number and pictures of that property that he said is one of the properties that she owns, and there's no way that she can afford such properties with a salary from SAPS. So now, if you want her to come and work with you, are you going to offer her the same incentives that Metropolitan was offering her? Then I knew that I was very in deep trouble than I thought I was. Because of now, he was saying there is no way a woman like a general like her that she will just dump people who were offering so much money and come work with you. It's either when I tell her that she must come work with you, then you will continue doing what these people they were doing to her. And then, but he said, there's conditions though. I also want you to do something for me. And I asked him, what is it? He said, there is a case opened against him from IPID, in IPID. So he said there's a guy that they tortured, and the guy that they tortured opened a case against them, and then I must convince, because the guy stays, I also have a house in Mistream. So he said, because you stay in Mistream, I'll tell you the name of the guy and check if you know the guy. And I said, tell me, and then Mistream is not that big. Maybe I might know the guy. And he told me the name of the guy, and I told him, actually, this guy, his son goes to the same school as my son. So, but what I will do is, I will ask my wife to ask his wife if he can facilitate a meeting for me to meet the guy so that I can convince him. And he said, I must tell the guy that, listen, he must drop the charges against him. And also, he must add that the people who actually compelled him to lay charges against him is Minister Mkhunu and General Sibiya. However, I couldn't get the guy and convince him to do what he wanted to do. And I thought maybe that was one of the reasons also that maybe I got arrested, because I didn't deliver what I promised him. So that was the purpose of my meeting with him there in the Pels.
Now, I'm going to start by asking you, do you know Major General Sinona from the DPCI is the hawk boss in KwaZulu-Natal?
Yes, I do.
How long do you know him?
5 or 6 years.
Because I understand that he said that you've grown up together. Is it true?
No. He didn't say that.
No, I'm saying him.
We grew up together.
Yes.
He's older than me.
I'm sorry?
He's older than me.
Yes, he's older than you. But he mentioned that he played football with you as well. But yeah, if you say no, it means is incorrect what he was telling General Mkhwanazi. Now, are you aware of any criminal cases? Like earlier, I think Honorable Breitenberg asked you about him, that he used to work in Silverton as a head of investigation and as a head of organized crime unit.
And when was that?
Some years before you went to KwaZulu Natal.
Maybe it's
You were not aware.
No.
Lieutenant Mkhwanazi told us that you are very close to Lieutenant Sibia. Is that true?
That is not true.
How do you know Lieutenant Sibia? Besides that, you went while he was acting, if I remember well, that he must resolve your matters at Vachis, if I remember well. Was it for the first time you've seen General Sibia?
Yes, in 2024.
Yes, yes. Is it true that Lieutenant General Sibia and his driver, a policeman, collects cash monthly, on monthly basis from somebody somewhere in Sandton? Did you ever told General Mkhwanazi about that?
No.
Now, he was told he must come to Oyster Box, and he said, no, he's not coming there. You must come out. You came up with a small car, and then you gave him the description of the car.
Who, me?
No, well, I Major General Sinono, but Major, not you, Sinono said that, I remember very, very well, that when you come out, he will see you is at Belleville Hills. Then you'll follow him, as you said yourself, that you went to Pearls, the boom gate, you opened, and you went to a penthouse there. Am I right?
Yes.
Now, then you were arrested, am I right? Besides that, you raised an issue about, before you were arrested, there's this guy called Neji from Midstream. In his own version, he said Neji was called right on the spot when you were, the three of you, at Pass by Major General, by yourself, because he said that the so-called kidnapping and the torture has got nothing to do with him, because that is the DPCI matter. So the issue of him, the case being opened for him, it was a fabricated story. And there's a person who was kidnapped. They went to, the Neji guy works with a private investigator. Do you know that?
No, I don't know that.
It's news to
I don't know that, yes.
The kidnapper, do you know anything about Malelane, that they went to trace that person who was kidnapped in Malelane, in Mpumalanga?
Malelane, no.
You don't know anything about that?
It's Malelane in Mpumalanga.
Yeah, in Malelane. Remember, just before the border, there's Malelane. So the person who was kidnapped, why Neji was called, is because there was a person, a Muslim for that matter, who was kidnapped, and they looked for him, and they went to Malelane. Unfortunately, he was not there. There was a border policeman who was involved, alleged involved in the kidnapping of that person, and unfortunately, that house of that policeman was burned down after the visit of these investigators of Major General Sinon. You don't know that?
No, I don't know that.
So the discussion that it's your son and Neji's son, they went school together. General Mkhwanazi says it's not so, because he was called. You called him on the same day.
I called who?
You called that Neji because he resides in Midstream, where you've got a house there in Midstream. That's what he told us.
First of all, why would I call him? Because by then I did not even know. I knew him after that because I had to go and look for him. So I did not call him there.
Yeah. But anyway, and I'm just putting that to you, that he's going to tell us that you called that gentleman on the same day when you were at Pals.
Okay.
And you know him before that. Now, the issue that he asked you to call him to withdraw the case, that's your version, am I right?
Yes.
But he said that he doesn't even know who was tortured. Because the DPCI, hence I'm saying the truth will be revealed at the end of the day. That who's telling the truth.
I think there's also a video of that.
It's fine. Thank you.